Good evening. Today we will be reviewing my tools class for ICS3U. My name is Jacob Jackson and I have 32 functions that I will be showing today. So first, before we start my list of functions, I have imported two classes, and one is random and one is math. So these basically are allow me to do functions that aren't already in Python, so I import them from somewhere else, so I can be able to use them in this program. So we have multiple functions here, but we're going to skip right ahead to line 553 to check to see what I'm proud of. So actually we can start on 578 with the next prime, and it will relate with is prime as well, this function up here. So first of all, we will this function takes an integer value and returns the next prime numbers. The isPrime function up here is used in here, and I'll show you that in a second, but it is used to check if the number that is received is in fact prime. So basically, if we would get a number, and which would be inputted, a random number, and first of all we want to check the next prime number, so we would add 1 to the number and then go through the loop if it is prime or not, and we use the isPrime or not from up here, and this basically checks if a random number that inputted is in fact prime. So then once we use that, basically the number that is inputted keeps adding multiple times in a while loop, basically infinite number of times until we get to that next prime number. And once that next prime number becomes available, the while loop will stop and it will return that integer number that is basically the next prime number. So I found that one very interesting, as it uses a while loop. The next function we will be reviewing is a function called adjacent check. So this function checks if n is adjacent to list at I, and if it is, it creates a new list with all the adjacent numbers. Basically, it returns a new list. So first of all, it creates an empty list, and it starts with a loop. So a for I in range, basically a bread and butter loop that we use commonly. I think we used it around 20 times in this tools class, just for some perspective. So a lot of times, very useful. So once we created this loop that loops through every element of this list, we check if the list at I is in fact equal to n. So once we find if this is equal to n, the new list would append that element of that list. So just note here that the append function adds an element to the list. And with this append function, this is a function that is used, and it is a part of this PyCharm program, so we do not need to import it at the top, which is very interesting. So basically it comes with the list, and it's used to add an element to a new list, and this would return the new list of adjacent elements. With this is intersecting problem or function, there was definitely a reason that we had to do this, as it is definitely not like every other function, and we needed to use basically a new approach of thinking to get this function to work. So this function, first of all, takes 6 floats that represent 2 circles and returns true if the circle with center x1 and y1 and radius r1 intersects circle x2 and y2 with radius r2. Basically, if the 2 circles are intersecting each other. So this function adds the parameters y and x, and this is the intersecting points of the circle. This was done to make the code more efficient. So the distance formula is basically the universal distance formula in computer science in general, is square root bracket x2 minus x1 bracket 2 plus bracket y2 minus y1 bracket 2 bracket. So this was used to check the distance from the center of the circles to a potential intersecting point. So we know this point will be along this line of distance. So as given the radius and the middle point, it was checked to see if the radius was equal to the distance calculated. This was done for both circles. If both circles had equal distances and radiuses, that means then it was confirmed that there was definitely an intersecting point. And this function just returns a true if distance and radius are equal, and false if other words. So basically, is it intersecting? True if it is, and if it isn't intersecting, then it would be false. And we just run this. So basically, we would start with this right here, and we used math.square root as the square root function, and since we imported math at the beginning of the tools class, we were able to use this. So math.square root, and same with math.pi, that just gets the power of the number, basically, or the formula. So this uses the formula with including all of these, and if it checks, so basically uses this as an equation, and that equals R1, and then we use this and here to connect the two. So if both of them are true, basically it returns true. And we use this same equation here with the different parameters. Parameters. So we link the parameters up here that we use down here. And if this is equal to R2, then they are in fact returning true, which is they are intersecting. And if none of this would make sense at all, then behind the if statement would be a return false, basically, else return false. So the last function we are going to review is the add digits. So this function takes a integer value and returns the sum of all of its digits. A new variable was created to cast the number to a string to be able to find the length. Each digit would be added to the variable using addition, and it would return a variable of the sum of digits contained. So add digits. It would create a variable, add 0 first of all, and it would take the new string and the string of the number and go through a loop to see if this is basically you get a up here, which is 0, and you basically put inside the arrow a this right here, so int string I plus a. So this would basically add the digits in the list together, as this basically cuts up all the different numbers in the list, and then this would add each of them together. as an explanation here, this would how it would work. So if it would be a print add digits at 52, it would split 52 in half, and then it would add 5 and 2 into the variable a, and as it would print a, it would print 7, which is 5 plus 2. I hope you enjoyed my tools class, and I hope you learned a lot from it, and I hope you saw my thinking behind how I came up with these solutions to these problems. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great day.